He had it all: the corner office, the sprawling house, the picture-perfect family. But even I in my line of work could see the emptiness behind his eyes. He was a master of self-help, a guru of inner work, journals overflowing, therapy sessions countless, yet something felt profoundly wrong. He felt better, but his life felt worse. That's the paradox, isn't it? The deeper you dig into yourself, the more you unearth, and it's not always pretty. Jung called it the shadow, the parts of us we bury so deep, they begin to sabotage everything we touch. This is about what happens when our inner work becomes a prison, not a pathway, a way to escape instead of a way to truly live. So he had it all: the penthouse in San Francisco, the tailored suits, the wife who looked like a movie star. But the emptiness, it was a chasm, a void that swallowed whole even the most carefully crafted smiles. I saw it in the way his eyes never quite met yours, the subtle tremor in his hand when he raised his glass. He was a walking, talking success story, a monument to self-improvement. He devoured self-help books like they were oxygen, spent hours meditating in silent retreats, even dabbled in ayahuasca ceremonies in the Peruvian Amazon. His journals were filled with insightful reflections, his therapy sessions with the most acclaimed psychologists stretched across years. He was better, undoubtedly, he told himself, better than he had ever been. And yet, even he couldn't quite believe it. He'd become a master of the inner game, but the outer game remained a wasteland. His relationships crumbled like sandcastles, his work felt hollow, and even the stunning view from his penthouse felt like an inescapable cage. He felt better, he truly did. But it wasn't just wrong, it was backward. He was moving inward, peeling back layer after layer of himself, but the life he craved, the connection, the purpose, the authentic joy remained elusive like a ghost in the machine. It was a chilling irony. He was healing, yes, but into a life devoid of meaning. His inner transformation became a prison built from well-intentioned self-improvement techniques. The irony wasn't lost on him or on me. We were both caught in the same paradoxical trap. This pursuit of a better self, this painstaking excavation of the inner world, had become an end in itself, a way to escape the messiness of life rather than a way to engage it fully. The journey inward had become a detour, not a path. This, my friends, is the paradox of progress, feeling better while living worse, a condition as familiar to me as my own reflection. The question isn't how to feel better, it's how to live it. He'd mastered mindfulness, conquered his anxieties, even faced his childhood traumas head-on in years of brutal honesty with his therapists. Yet the chasm remained. It wasn't just wrong, it was backward. All that inner work, all that self-improvement, and what had it bought him? A gilded cage of quiet desperation. The irony wasn't lost on me. He was a walking paradox, the epitome of self-awareness, yet utterly disconnected from the vibrant, messy reality of his life. This, my friend, is where the shadow comes in. Not some dark, lurking evil, but the unexamined aspects of ourselves, the parts we tuck away so deep they begin to fester, a slow poison, corroding even the most carefully crafted structures of our lives. Jung called it the shadow, and it's the reason why so many men, even those who are spiritually awakened, emotionally intelligent, and deeply self-aware, still find themselves stuck. It's the reason why inner work sometimes leaves you feeling worse. Think of Arthur, a 62-year-old retired architect from Charleston. Arthur had it all figured out. He'd spent decades mastering his craft, building stunning homes that spoke of elegance and precision. He'd faced his mortality, confronted his fears, and embraced a rich spiritual practice. Yet despite his profound inner peace, he felt a simmering resentment toward his own success. He'd pushed away his son years ago, unable to reconcile his own emotionally distant father with the loving father he longed to be. That suppressed anger, his shadow, was now poisoning his relationships, creating a distance that even his meditation couldn't bridge. He'd become a master of inner peace, a monument to self-control, yet his life felt like a barren landscape. It wasn't that he was unaware of his anger, he was hyper-aware of it. He journaled about it, meditated on it, even analyzed it with his therapist. But he never truly integrated it. He never dared to truly feel the raw, visceral pain of his past. Instead, he suppressed it, pushed it down, hoping it would simply disappear, a strategy as effective as trying to extinguish a wildfire with a teaspoon of water. That, my friend, is the trap of shadow work gone wrong. It's not about suppressing the darkness, it's about integrating it into the whole, which brings us to the key difference between feeling better and truly living. The shadow isn't something to conquer or eradicate, it's a part of you, a potent source of energy that, when understood and channeled, can become a wellspring of creativity, resilience, and even power. Arthur's anger, for example, could have fueled his creativity, could have driven him to mend his relationship with his son. Instead, it became a self-fulfilling prophecy of isolation, a perfect example of how neglecting the shadow can turn inner work into a self-defeating strategy, a prison of your own making. Think of it like a river. Damming it up creates a pressure that can eventually burst through, but channeling its flow can create a vibrant ecosystem. The path to true transformation isn't about escaping the shadow, but integrating it into the fabric of your being. It's about becoming a wounded healer, embracing the darkness so that you can finally wield its power. So this isn't about escaping the shadow, it's about befriending it. Think of it like a wild river, untamed and powerful. In our attempts at self-improvement, we often try to dam it up, to control its flow, build walls around our anger, bury our insecurities, ignore the primal screams echoing from the depths of our being. And for a while, it works. The waters held back, contained, a deceptive calm settles on the surface. But the pressure builds. Eventually, that dam breaks, a catastrophic flood of repressed emotions that sweeps away everything in its path. Relationships crumble, careers implode, and that emptiness, it expands, swallowing you whole. I've seen it happen countless times. Jung understood this primal struggle. He knew that the shadow isn't something to be banished. It's an integral part of the psyche, a source of immense power, a wellspring of creativity if we can only learn to navigate its currents. He spoke of individuation, a process of integrating all aspects of the self, the light and the dark, the conscious and the unconscious. It's not about becoming a saint devoid of shadow, it's about becoming whole. Consider Arthur, a retired judge in Charleston, South Carolina, a man who spent his life dispensing justice, upholding the law, projecting an image of incorruptible righteousness. But behind that stoic facade, a darkness simmered. Years of suppressed rage, the weight of countless cases of injustice, a simmering fury over the corruption he'd witnessed, it all festered within him. He became a master of repression, honing his self-control to a razor's edge. He was admired, respected, yet his inner life was a battlefield. Then, in his late 60s, it all came crashing down. Not in a dramatic explosion, but a slow, agonizing collapse of his carefully constructed world. His health failed, his relationships frayed, and he was left alone, facing the monster he had spent his life trying to ignore. The key isn't in avoiding the darkness, but in understanding its language, seeing the shadow not as an enemy, but as a wounded child needing compassion, needing integration. It's about uncovering the root cause of its anger, its pain, its fear, the unhealed wounds that fuel its relentless sabotage. It's about listening to its whispers, deciphering its cryptic messages, understanding its desperate need to be seen, to be felt, to be acknowledged. This is the first step towards alchemy, transforming lead into gold, turning shadow into power. The wounded healer isn't someone who avoids their wounds, but someone who understands them, who uses them to heal others. This isn't about feeling better. It's about becoming a more authentic, a more integrated, a more powerful version of yourself. The work is not finished when the pain subsides, but when the pain integrates with the rest of your life, becomes a thread in the vibrant tapestry of your being. And that, my friend, requires courage, a courage to confront the most uncomfortable truths about yourself, a courage to embrace the wounded king within and to finally wield his power. That river, untamed and powerful, it's the shadow, and it's not about conquering it or even taming it. It's about learning its language, understanding its currents, and then using its immense force to propel you forward. Think of it like this. A sculptor doesn't destroy the raw stone, he works with it, chiseling away at the excess to reveal the masterpiece within. The shadow is the raw material of your soul, the unrefined ore waiting to be transformed into something magnificent. Carl Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated self. And that integration, it's not a smooth, linear journey. It's messy, chaotic, even terrifying at times. Because let's face it, staring into the abyss isn't exactly a walk in the park. But it's the only path to true power. Take Arthur, for instance, a 68-year-old architect from Boston. He had everything: a successful firm, a loving family, yet beneath the surface, a volcano of suppressed rage simmered. He was a master of passive aggression, silently seething at the injustices he perceived in his life. He saw himself as a victim, a misunderstood genius suffocated by the mediocrity of the world. His inner work, years of therapy, meditation, retreats, had honed his self-awareness, but it hadn't touched the core of his anger. His life remained stagnant, a testament to the fact that awareness alone isn't enough. Then he discovered a powerful, raw form of expression: painting. He poured his anger onto the canvas, a visceral unleashing of years of frustration. The paintings were chaotic, violent, raw, a true reflection of his shadow self, but in the process of creation something shifted. The rage, once a destructive force, became a conduit for his creativity, a potent source of energy. He transformed his shadow into his art, his power. The anger remained, but it no longer controlled him, he controlled it. This wasn't about eliminating the anger, it was about understanding its source, its message. He realized his anger stemmed from a deep-seated fear of vulnerability, a fear of not being enough, a fear that his own inherent power might not live up to expectations. He had buried this fear for so long, under layers of success and self-improvement, that it manifested as rage. Once he confronted that fear, once he integrated that fear into the fabric of his being, he found the power to wield it, to transform it into something beautiful, something profound, something truly his own. He stopped projecting his anger outwards and began using his creative passion, a unique expression of his power and an antidote to the fear that fueled it. He became a wounded healer, channeling his personal pain into art that touched the lives of others. This isn't just an intellectual exercise, this is a matter of life or death, a life lived authentically or a life spent hiding behind a carefully constructed facade of success. This process of integration, this alchemy of transforming shadow into power, it's not easy. It requires courage, a willingness to face the darkness within and find the light that lives there too. But that's the paradox. Often, the greatest strength comes from our greatest wounds, and our deepest shadows conceal our most potent power. So the man in the penthouse, he wasn't broken, he was simply unfinished. He'd built this magnificent structure of self-improvement, journals, therapy, retreats, but he'd forgotten the foundation. He'd focused on the polishing, the gleaming facade, ignoring the cracks in the walls, the unstable ground beneath. And that's the most common mistake, isn't it? He'd mastered the inner game, yes, but he hadn't integrated it into his life. It remained separate, a pristine island in a sea of disconnect. He thought he was escaping the shadow, but he was only reinforcing it. By suppressing his anger, his vulnerability, his pain, he was giving it more power. Think of it this way: you can't erase a scar, but you can weave it into the story of your life. You can let it shape you, yes, but it doesn't have to dictate you. The truth is, we're not taught to integrate these things. We're taught to conquer them, to eradicate them, to become perfect. And that's the lie that keeps us chasing shadows, endlessly trying to fill the void with external achievements. It's the ultimate self-deception, but the void isn't empty. It's full of everything we refuse to see, the parts of us we've buried alive, the wild, untamed potential that waits to be unleashed. The 65-year-old architect in Charleston, the one who finally left his gilded cage and found his true passion in painting, understood this. The 72-year-old professor in Vermont, who faced his lifelong fear of vulnerability and opened his heart to a new love, understood this. They integrated their shadows, embraced their wounds, and their lives blossomed. Not because of their inner work, but because they finally used that work to create a life that reflected their whole selves, shadow and light, the masterpiece that they already were, hiding just beneath the surface. So here you are at a crossroads. You can continue to build your tower of self-improvement, higher and higher, further and further from the earth, from your own true self. Or you can choose to descend, to face the darkness, to meet the wounded king within and wield his power. This isn't about becoming better, it's about becoming whole. And that, my friend, that's a transformation that reaches far beyond the carefully curated masks we wear every day. It's about embracing the rawness, the untamed river that runs through your very being, the power born from your deepest pain. The quiet, ferocious power that only comes from a life